choosing which path to go, can be tricky. I admit that. Picking a career, something that you want to do, hearing loss or not. Um, However, some careers will not, will have a block for us. We will not be able to choose those careers as people still do not understand, that we function like everybody else. Can't go into the army. It used to be, up until recently, that you could not go into the medical field. Very recently. So that is astonishing, as society continues to understand us a bit better. But I have to say, in terms of careers, you can do anything you put your mind to. And your mother will tell you that. Your wife will tell you that. There are certain careers that, as a trucker, let's say you wanted to be a trucker. In most of all the states in the United States, you can be a trucker. However, there are still some states here and there. I would have to look them up, and I'll put them in the description which ones, that if you have hearing loss or deafness, you can't be a trucker. Which kind of sounds ridiculous because they allow us to drive, but we can't be a trucker. So so I have to look and see what states do not allow you to drive because you're hearing loss or deafness. So, but other than that, I can't, at the top of my head, I would have to look it up and put in the description once I'm done with this video. There is nothing you can't do as someone with hearing loss. If you want to be a teacher, if you want to be, I'm a social worker, so I'm a retired social worker. So I went through my entire career with hearing loss. It was like when I graduated from college, it was right around there where my hearing loss was starting. And, I didn't understand what was going on, the dizziness, I had Meniere's at the beginning. I still have Meniere's. Once you have Meniere's, you always have Meniere's, I think. So it was right at the beginning that I started with hearing loss. And I didn't exactly understand what was going on. It's like, what's wrong with this phone that I can't understand people? What's wrong with people that keep on repeating things to me? That's so annoying. And they said, Lisa, I called you 4 times. It's like, well, maybe you need to speak up a little bit. Stop using a mouse voice. So I was like, what? No, I didn't say that, Lisa. I said this. I said, no, you didn't. So I was like, what on earth? But then, I went to Catholic Charities after that, after working in a shelter, domestic violence. I went to Catholic Charities to work in immigration. And there, one of my coworkers did call me over, and I knew them from way back when. So they knew me well, and they knew my quality of work. And they said, something's up because I talk to you. You don't respond sometimes. Sometimes I call you and you don't hear me. So they were very concerned because this is not the Lisa they knew from back then. So then I promised them that I would go to an audiologist, blah, blah, blah. But even so at that point that, I got my first hearing aids, all that kind of stuff, I had to learn very quickly because my hearing was going all over the place. It was there, then the next day it wasn't, then it was back, then it was gone. I was like, am I losing my mind? So I was going through sudden hearing loss, and it was just all over, And I had an audiologist that was a saint. But I continued to push through, and I learned all the tools I could, to understand on the phone and to be able to amplify the phone. tools that I put on the phone. What else? So it was all of these things that I did to continue well, to do my job well in with hearing loss. So, and that is the key point. If you choose, like, you want to be a secretary, you want to be a trucker, you want to be a nurse, you want to be a doctor, you want to be a lawyer, you can do that. It's just on you to be as responsible as possible, knowing and being aware of your hearing loss. A big part is on you to make sure you have all the tools that you need. And hopefully your employer is follows the law and provides tools also for you to continue to work well and do well at what you are trained to do. So this is critical for you to know, okay, I need to do my best. My employer needs to do his or her best. And, as a team, I can do this job just as good as the next person. So it is a bit of a struggle sometimes with some employers that think they can get away with, I'm not paying attention to this person with hearing loss and I'm going to sink them, so they just move on. And that's not allowed. The ADA does not allow it. So hearing loss or not, other disabilities or not. So you need to understand that going in, that you might be up for a little bit of a battle to get what you need. An amplified or caption phone or whatever tool it is. But, this is really important for you to know. You can do anything you put your mind to, really. There is another that I will put the link down. There's a gal, and she does really well with her channel. She is a nurse practitioner, and she has hearing loss. She's had hearing loss all her life, and she went right into the medical field. But she was aware, and she was very aware of her hearing loss, so she investigated all the tools she was going to need to get through school, to be at her job, so I'll put the link down there so you can see someone who talks a lot about her career and how she got into the medical field and how she's doing now. And so it's really cool to listen to her. As a social worker, I knew I needed all those tools to be able to hear well. It's critical because I always worked with people in crisis. So in a crisis, you don't want to miss anything. You don't want to miss, something that is crucial, that the client might say or need. So, and I would tell them right away, I have hearing loss, so if you need to repeat, please be patient with me. But I will make sure that I go back on our conversation to make sure I didn't miss anything. So, those were little tricks that I would do to make sure that I did not, miss anything in terms of feelings or information that the client was giving me, because that could be, a huge issue. So, you want to be a social worker? Awesome. We can talk about that, and we can, if somebody's curious and wants to go into that field, awesome. You want to be a writer? Incredibly awesome. You want to be a tax person. You want to be a city surveyor, a city designer. There's so many careers that it doesn't matter, in your heart, if that's something you want to do, go for it. Just know that you'll have to learn about all these technologies and have them available when you go into that field so that you are giving your best. And I was always upfront. hey, I have hearing loss, so if you could face me, that would be awesome. I know you're going to forget a few times and I'll remind you, so not a big deal. So I learned that, the more relaxed I was about it, um, the more relaxed the other person was. So if it wasn't stressful, if I didn't show any stress or any anger, the other person was fine with it. So, so you also have to put in that 2 cents in the relationship, when you're going into a field. When I went into school, I went to the office for students with disabilities. I struggled a little bit with that term, but but I went there and I said, hey, I want to get my master's in social work, and I'm going to have some difficulties hearing, so can we talk about this? So we had a formal meeting and we talked about the tools that I would need, and so the university put 100% into that. So I also put 100% of myself in going to classes. So the tricks were we were going to always sit in a circle so I could see everyone. At the beginning, they had I used a microphone, I think, for the teacher. So I used something similar to this. It was designed differently, but the teacher wore a microphone, and it would transmit via. It was kind of like a loop for me. So it was awesome. Once in a while, the teacher would forget to put on the microphone, and I had it all set up with a nice little chain and everything. And sometimes she would forget, so I would just wave, prof. And she would say, oh, darn it, sorry, Lisa. So then she would turn around and put on the microphone, and so it's a good loop system, but, I lost more hearing. So then we went to text. So they gave me a small laptop, and we put a large speaker is about this big, in the middle of the room, and then the person, there would be a person anywhere in the United States who would be typing to me what was being said. So they would listen in on the class, and they would type to me what was being said, and that was pretty cool. At the beginning, the students were looking around like, what was that? And we talked about privacy. We talked about, a couple of different things because they wanted to understand what tools were we using, and who was listening in, So I said, well, they are captionists, and so they need to hear the class and what's going on. And so that's what that big speaker is in the middle of the room. They'll pick up your voice. So we do ask that you speak in a normal tone or a little bit louder than you usually do so they can hear you. If they can't hear you, then they're going to text to me, can't hear student. And so then I'll raise my hand and ask you to repeat, a little bit louder so they can type to me. So it was awesome. They would usually, and they got really interested in the process. And so at the beginning of class, they would say, oh, who's on tonight? And say, hey, Joey, welcome back to the class, Or Patricia, so good that you're back. It's so good that you're typing to us today. So, so they found some enthusiasm in the process too. So all my professors had a loud voice anyway, so I didn't have any problems, unless they turned around and they were writing on the board. So then they learned to not speak when they turned around to the board, and then they would turn around and say, what was on the board and what they wanted us to remember, et cetera, et cetera. So that's how I got through my master's degree. And then I went on to as a counselor. And so I always said to my my clients, my patients, I said, I need to tell you I'm hearing impaired. And I think I had a speaker I had a little small speaker on the desk, so I would say that speaker doesn't go anywhere. It just goes to my cochlear implants because that's what I had back then. So I said, so just don't worry, it's not going anywhere. It's just here in the room, and it just amplifies her voice a little bit so I don't miss anything because what you have to say is important. So it was that kind of dynamic. And I went on, as a therapist for quite a few years. Then I stepped down a little bit. I was having some other health conditions, and I went back to case management. And then I was back on the streets doing case management. So that was okay. It was different environments. I didn't have much control of where I was meeting the patient or the client. So that was a little tricky. But I would just tell them I'm hearing impaired if you can face me, and they understood. They have all kinds of problems. So just facing me wasn't a big deal. So as long as I had that, it was okay. So that's kind of my story. But I really want to encourage you not to hold yourself back. If you have questions about a career or how to get into a university or a college or to a tech, college, let me know. But, and there's a couple of tips through this video, like go to the Office of the Students with Disabilities and just say, hey, I have hearing loss. I want to take these classes. What can you offer me? These are the things that help me the most. And the college should put up, up front, some tools for you. So, don't let hearing loss hold you back from any career. And I will put a list of states that don't allow you to be a trucker because of your hearing loss. It's just this one state or two states. I'd have to look it up. It's a little crazy. And I think that law needs to be suspended. But, it's the people in that state who need to call up that law and ask for it to be written off the books. So, but it's, we're progressing. If you look at the history of hearing loss, we're making strides in terms of employers understanding, and we're making strides a little bit, and I would say big strides in the medical field, because we were not allowed at some point to go into the medical field because of our hearing loss. So, and this nurse, I watch her, I listen to her videos, she's great, and it's like, yeah, I remember those days. I remember when, people were telling me, oh, you can't do this or you can't do that, and it's like, no, it's not true. It is so not true. If I take responsibility of making sure that I have the proper tools to communicate, I'm good to go. And that's it, I'm good to go. So there is some responsibility. There, in the medical, me approaching the medical field and asking for help, there was one nurse who had her own conditions, visual problems, and so, but she would push things on me. I would say, no, wait a minute. I get it, and I'm very sorry you have, you're going blind, and it's a very difficult road to go down, but my expectation is that you professionally make sure that you have the tools to do all the steps that you need to. If you need to ask me something, as a patient, that's fine, but I can't allow you to push things on me, just because I'm not here as a patient to complete steps that you're responsible for. So you can be in this field, but you got to be responsible in making sure you can do all the steps as a nurse. So blind or not. So, the patient should not take responsibility for doing your tasks. So we had that conversation, and I think she was a little surprised. But for anyone who has a disability and is in a profession, make sure that you don't push things on your client, your patient, your person you're serving because of your disability. So that's what I'm saying. So anyway, I don't want to make this video too long. I just want to say the world is open to you, and as long as you make sure you have the necessary tools to keep that communication flowing, you are good to go. So you might have to prove it to some people a little bit, but once you show them, that's it. Don't give them any more opportunities or any more floor or room to complain about you. So that's just, they need to move on. Well, in doing my research, it appears that deaf and hard of hearing truck drivers are fully recognized now. So these are the advancements in history, and I'll put all those links. Things are progressing little by little and letting us get into more fields. So if you want to drive a semi, you can do that now. All right, people, you know what to do with this. It would be very helpful for me if you subscribed, if you found this video helpful. Subscribe and like, make comments, and then the algorithm will say, oh, yeah, okay, people like this channel, so let's help this person, and just subscribe, and then I'll come back and watch other videos. So that would be awesome. All right, take care, stay warm, and I'll see you in the next one.